It's time to go to a clinic, take a few pills, and be done. In my opinion, this is grounds for divorce. You're gonna trick me into having a baby? Nothing will give your affair away like having sex with somebody outside of your race. These are some of the most manipulative wives on the internet. The first story I have for you today is called My Wife Gave Birth to a Black Baby That Clearly Isn't Mine and I'm Divorcing Her, but I'm worried about the relationship between my two kids and their new half sister. That title alone makes me gasp for air, okay? But I'm gonna read it again. It says, My wife gave birth to a black baby that clearly isn't mine, and I am divorcing her. But I'm worried about the relationship between my two kids and their half sister. A month ago, my wife gave birth to a black baby girl. We're both white, and she was forced to admit that the child was a result of a one night stand last year. Nothing will give your affair away like having sex with somebody outside of your race. I'm not condoning that she should have an affair, obviously, but I don't, I'm gonna read on to this, but I don't know what this wife was thinking about when she got pregnant by another. Like, was she just hoping that the child would turn out white? Interesting. Let's keep going. I've started divorce proceedings, although we're living together for now. Between our two boys, aged 2 and 4, I've had paternity tests for them and they came back positive. Good. The father went ahead and did a paternity test for both of their children, which is amazing because you literally never know, right? Her infant daughter and her, having her lost her job due to COVID, living together as amicably as possible until divorce is settled is an unfortunate necessity. I I like that even though this man got cheated on, even though there was a baby outside of this, even though so much stuff is happening, he still was empathetic enough to remain with her in due to all this stuff that she's going through. And that makes him seemingly a nice man. Before, of course, let's hope not. I have been disgusted by some of the comments I've heard from family members, friends, and coworkers, all who seem to be fixated on the racial angle of this. Well, I think that they're fixated on it because it's a low-hanging fruit. It's a very obvious situation. Of course they're fixated on it, you know? I don't know what they would feel if that was a white baby and like let's say like in like 16 years you find out that that white baby wasn't yours the whole time. I don't know what they would feel in that case, but of course they're fixated on it because it's a very obvious situation. It's unfortunate that they're fixated on the race thing because it wouldn't have mattered, but because of a lot of internal racism that they probably have, of course they're fixated on the racial angle of this. I'm not surprised by that at all. As if the most of the salient part of this isn't that my wife cheated, but she cheated with a black man, and that baby is black. God forbid the baby turn out to be black. God forbid that the father is black, right? Let's worry about the most important issue of the room, which is the fact that the baby is black. Yeah. Anyways, let's keep going. What really worries me is that my two sons might have to pick up these narratives. They're too young to really understand what's happening now, and I'm worried that as they grow up to understand the situation, they might grow resentful of their half sister for breaking up their parents' marriage. And the worst at their resentment might express itself in a racist fashion under the influence of an aforementioned racist narratives. Again, I'm so thankful that this man is willing to put aside a lot of the BS and worry about his sons and their half sister. I think that's definitely something that needs to be worried about in the future. But as for now, I'm really, really happy that he's thinking about this because this all really depends on how those boys are raised. If they're raised to be told, hey, your sister is actually a good person and it's not her fault and she didn't do this, if they're told that throughout the entire life, they're gonna be fine. But if they're not told that, and if they have things underneath the rug, and if nobody's focusing on their situation, then of course they're gonna make these assumptions that their half sister did something when she obviously didn't. So they have to be told that. That's one thing I learned in therapy, is that people become what they are taught, right? If those two boys are taught to be kind to their sister, to love their sister, to not blame their sister for anything, they're going to learn to not do that. They're going to have to just skip past what their grandparents and uncles are saying and focus on what you guys are saying as the parents. Any thoughts on how I should influence my son's way from the perspective? It probably doesn't help that we live in a suburb with very few black people and their half sister is the only black person my children know. You, like I said, you just have to teach those kids how to go about treating their half sister a certain way. You have to. Because at the end of the day, it's not really your issue. The guy that wrote this, it's not really your issue. It's not really your problem. But I'm glad that you're thinking about it. I'm glad that you want to make sure that, this baby girl is protected as much as possible, especially from racism. But at the same time, it's not really your problem now. You're going to have to take that up with the mother of your children. Some comments I want to point out. I'll tell you what my dad did, and you can use the info as you will. He invited my little brother, who was not his child, along with me to stay for the weekend. My brother wasn't the product of infidelity or anything. He was just my half brother, my stepdad's son. But I didn't know for a while because my dad brought him along to the museums and the water parks and the movies. Pretty much any time I was at his place, his little brother was too, and I never complained. I loved my brother. So that's an option. So that's it. Making sure that baby girl feels loved and supported by her family, because I know that it sucks, but that is her family. Even though that's not what we want, that is her family at the end of the day. This story actually has an update. You know I love an update on stories. This one actually has one, and I'm going to read that to you next. Okay, he says, the big takeaway for me is that if I need to lead by example here, not excluding her in any way because of her paternity, so that she and my sons will see her as a full member of the family. Exactly. And also that I need to be more active in confronting the bigoted and ignorant nonsense I've been hearing and teach my sons to do the exact same to protect their sister. Exactly. Always, if you see something wrong, always speak up. Even if it's not a direct effect to your life, always speak up. And I'm glad that he wants to do this. I've spoken to some of those responsible since and made my feelings clear on this. And she is to be treated as a member of the family, and that if I ever find out that they've said things like that to my sons or their sister, that would not be allowed. They would not be allowed around us anymore. Period. Wow, what a good father. What is the wife thinking of all of this situation? I want to know what her perspective is. And this guy talks about that next. I've spoken to my wife about this, and we're more or less on the same page. She's been begging me to forgive her and not go through the divorce. But that's not going to happen. Even if I didn't consider the cheating unforgivable, I still don't feel any love for her anymore, and other than platonic affection as the mother of my children. Good on you. Stand your ground, dude. Stand your ground. That woman deserves no sympathy at all. My sons are handling this as well as expected. The 4-year-old doesn't fully understand, but is upset by the change in the household. Thankfully, he's easily distracted. The 2-year-old is thankfully too young to comprehend what's going on, but has definitely picked up on how withdrawn his mother has become. They're both fascinated with their new little sister, and that's the silver lining. Oh, that's sweet. I like that. Okay. My wife, on the other hand, isn't in good shape at all. Well, it's her fault. If she's not in good shape, it's her fault. It's not my fault you cheated. It's not my fault you had an affair with a black man at that. I don't mean that. I'm joking. I don't mean that. It doesn't matter what, who she had sex with. It's not her fault. So I don't care if she's in a bad mood. She was depressed even before the birth, and now with everything, our divorce, infidelity being revealed, and backlash from family and friends, TDP, and the exhaustion from raising an infant, she's barely functional. She's seeing a therapist, and I've been pressuring some of our family and friends to be supportive of her, because even if they think she deserves it in her current state, to making it harder for me and our children. Again, I'm loving this man's empathy with his wife. I'm loving this empathy so much. He is one of a kind. Something I've learned as I grow older is like, life is hard enough, and there's no need to make it harder on yourself. We deal with so much. We deal with payments. We deal with rent, we deal with so much in life that there's no need to make it harder by behaving like this. By behaving like this makes it harder. Now you're depressed. And now you're anxious. And now you can't raise your baby properly. And now you can't do this. This all could have not have happened had you not just not done that. You know what I mean? Had you not just not cheated, this all would not have had happened. Again, I'm curious, was she ever gonna tell her husband that she slept with a man that wasn't him? I don't know. We will continue the story. It's become very obvious to me that even after the divorce is finalizing, we're going to have to live together for a little while longer. She is in no shape to taking care of 3 kids without someone else around to support her. And I'm not willing to deprive her of her sons by seeking sole custody. And it's too difficult financially since she's lost her job because of COVID. Again, this man is showing so much patience and resilience and compassion towards her that I don't think many men out there have. I have to kind of commend that, you know? As for the baby girl, she's healthy and fairly easy by baby standards. Since I've been helping take care of her, I bonded with her and discussed the possibility of adopting her with my wife. She can't contact the father as the only thing she knows about him is his first name. She didn't even know the last name of that man she slept with. How dreadful, how shameful. She didn't even know the last name, the first 2 names of the man she slept with. This next part is going to sound very controversial, but I'm going to say it anyways because I genuinely believe this. When you have messed up this badly and there's no point of return, it's time to go to a clinic, take a few pills, and be done. She had so many opportunities to make this right, and she didn't, and she chose to keep the baby of another man, like of a man she didn't even know. You had a baby, you fully had a baby with a man that you didn't even know, that you can't even contact with. That's crazy to me. And you didn't even want to take a pill. You didn't want to go to the clinic and just be done with that. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. But I'm happy that he's bonding with the baby, and I'm happy that he likes the baby. That's sweet. But I'm like, girl, it's like bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. And now this man has to pay for this baby, take care of this baby that is not his because you decided to mess up and have an affair and have a baby and then not go to the clinic for it and leave this burden onto your husband. That's next level insanity to me. That is next level insanity. And given our co-parenting situation, it feels like adopting her as my daughter would be the best outcome for all involved. And he wants to consider adopting her. He wants to adopt her. However, what do you mean, however? What do you mean, however? I know I didn't give this guy a name, but John, what do you mean, however, John? There's been a wrench thrown in that plan. It has been brought to my attention that there may be a way of finding the baby's father, namely by having her DNA tested by ancestry DNA. If the father or one of those relatives has also taken the test, they may be able to find him through their DNA match database. First of all, ancestry DNA is expensive. I wouldn't even know if I would bother doing that. This is too much. This is going too far at this point. Okay, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not happy about this. And I've already started to think of the baby girl as my daughter, and having him in our lives will massively complicate the family dynamic. This is the part of the situation where you have to sit down with your wife and tell her, what does she want to prioritize at this point? Because this man does not have to know about that baby. This man is probably better off not knowing about that baby. And if in the far future that baby girl wants to go find her biological father, she could do it. She can choose to do it. But this is the part where you need to literally talk to your wife and say, you need to choose between me, our family, and that man. And by choosing me, you don't tell him about this kid. Because you've fucked up enough. You've messed up enough. So she has to choose what to do. This is crazy. Plus, we live in Seattle and she met him in Philadelphia. Jesus. So God knows how they make it work if he wanted to be the kid's father. Again, she needs to choose between you and that kid's father. She needs to choose. However, I recognize this is a selfish reaction. It's not selfish. It's not selfish. There's nothing selfish about this. There's nothing you've done so much already, John. If we have a chance to finding her biological father, we will owe it to her to do so. If only that she has access to a paternal medical history, and so that she can have a relationship with them, so she can choose to do so. And she can choose to have a relationship with her father in the future when she is older. She can choose to do that. She can choose to do that. That's up to her. But not right now. Not when she's being raised by a perfect good guy and seemingly okay mother and two brothers. She can have that later. And I've read a few accounts by children raised by non-biological parents, and a common thread is that their desire to meet their lost biological parent. So that's that. We've ordered an ancestry DNA kit for her, and I guess we'll have to decide our next steps once we get the results back in a couple of months. Well, there you have it. So they're gonna go through with this ancestry DNA thing, and that's good for them. I guess he's trying to do the right thing, but still, it's so messy and so ridiculous. And I think John has done enough. I think he's done enough. Like, everything else should be out of his hands. I think the moment that he moves out of that house, things will be much better, I think. Somebody said in the comments, the way you're dealing with this with a level head is commendable, and that child is very lucky to have you. Many people wouldn't respond how well you are and deserve a ton of credit for that. Your life was upside down, and you're still putting that baby's best interest first. And that's true. Unfortunately, the wife did not put her family first. She decided to get it in, and this is the result of that situation. But I'm really happy that this man is trying to do the right thing, because Lord knows most men wouldn't. Before we go on to the next story, I'm going to ask you to subscribe and like and share this video if you like it. I will be doing more Reddit style videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for your support. The next story is called My Wife Baby Trapped Me, and here it goes. I put baby trap in quotations because I'm not sure what she did is actual definition of a baby trap. She didn't have kids to make me say, but just against my will. Weird. I have no idea where this is going. So my wife, 32F, and I, 34M, have been together for 8 years. We have a little girl, 5, and a baby boy, 2 months. I love them both more than anything, and I feel like I have everything. A beautiful wife, 2 healthy kids, a great career, and a big house. Sometimes that's not enough. That's not enough. Let's name this guy Dan. Sometimes, Dan, that's not enough. That's not enough. Having everything sometimes isn't enough. The token American dream, minus a dog. I'm allergic. When we talked about having kids before, my wife always said to me she wanted 2. I only wanted 1. It would be easier, and we'd have more money for vacations and stuff. And my wife maintained it. It's important for a child to have a sibling. I grew up with 4 and my wife with none, so I guess I understand where she's coming from. Okay? It's a good reason to want to have more than 1 kid, I think. After our son and getting through the baby years and sleepless nights for the second time, I didn't want to ever go through that again. Both kids were very fussy and colicky, but when he was a year old, my wife began to casually mention a third. Oh God. Why would she want a third child? That's crazy. I would laugh it off, but finally she sat me down and said we have to have a third child. I said no. We agreed on 2, and she said she wanted 4, and 3 is the compromise. But you didn't agree on 4 before, though. How are you going to have a compromise when you didn't agree on 4? And what is such a big deal about having 3 kids? Why? What is the purpose of that? What is the purpose of having more than 2 kids? What is the purpose? I can't. I refused, and I said I wanted 1, and we have 2. She got angry and called me selfish for taking away her dream of wanting a big family. But you have 2 kids as a big family. What did she want to do? Have 8 kids? Crazy. A couple days later, she apologized and we had sex. I noticed that her drive increased exponentially, and so did mine, and I was happy to engage her. She was on birth control. I had a condom. It was all good. Thinking back on it, I probably should have figured something was up, and I was barely handling 2 kids and work on top of a household, yard work, and everything. I got home from work one day while the kids were with their grandparents. My wife had a huge smile on her face and she sat me down and showed me a positive pregnancy test, literally dancing in joy. This is not good. This is the definition of doing something against one's will. This is not okay behavior. This behavior is grounds for divorce, in my opinion. In my opinion, this is grounds for divorce. You're gonna trick me into having a baby? This is grounds for divorce. Period. Period. That's called manipulation. Period. My first thought was, oh shit. My wife noticed a less than happy expression on my face and started screaming at me. Why would he be happy when he has expressed that he does not want more children? She berated me for not being supportive, and this was a miracle from God. Whatever about that. Whatever about that. And I should be grateful. I said I was sorry and hugged her, and I said I was super excited for the baby. My wife was delighted later that night, and she was calling all family and friends to happily tell them the news. When she was talking about the nursery and how we'll convert my office into a room, I got a little suspicious. Everything was well thought out, and it seemed like she was planning this for a while. And the fact that she would do this is so disgusting. It's so freaking disgusting. Like, ew. Ugh. Bad behavior. Bad behavior. When she was asleep, I took the condoms out of the cupboard and ran them in the water. Holes. So she poked holes in the condom. But wasn't she on birth control? Maybe she just didn't take it that day. The thing about this story is I've heard of stories like this, but I've never actually heard of stories. I've heard the stories like this in the backgrounds of people doing that, but I've never ever heard it like this. I nabbed her phone and saw she set a password. That was odd. Nevertheless, my wife had a terrible memory, so I tried her birthday and it opened. Okay. Further up were texts with her best friend of my wife complaining how I couldn't come around. Her best friend suggested to arrange an accident with a winking face. My wife agreed and said she'd come off of birth control. It went on for a while, ending with my wife saying yes and that we were going to have a third. Damn. Grounds for divorce, I'm telling you. Grounds for divorce. Grounds for divorce. This is the next level bullshit. And it's grounds for divorce. So I woke her up immediately and asked her if this had really been a miracle. She got deer in headlights look and burst into tears. Did she really think she was going to get away with this, Dan? Did your wife really think she was going to get away with this? This is insane. Did she think she was actually going to get away with this behavior? I can't. She wailed and then got angry, playing the victim, of course. Through her tears, she screamed that I had no right to go through her phone. Babe, that's not the point of this conversation. And it's her choice on whether or not she wants to have BC. Again, she's being manipulative and she is playing the victim because that's not the point of this conversation. The point is you lied and you trapped this man into a baby. That's crazy. Side effects were bad and she was sick. All understandable. All you had to do was talk to your husband about it. She also brought it up that if I really didn't want a third kid, I should have had a vasectomy. Now it's his fault. Yeah, now it's his fault. She told me to go sleep on the couch. I laughed and said, no, I'm sleeping here. You're leaving. So while wailing, she packed a bag and left to her parents, period. When she called the next day, I told her I just needed some time to myself. And she said that that's fine. I need to come around for our child. I told her I wasn't sure if it'd be our child. And she cried more. Grounds for divorce. Grounds for divorce. I hope by the end of this, he is in the courthouse filing paperwork. Grounds for divorce. This is what you deserve for lying, manipulative, and not. Can husbands sue their wives? I would sue. The thing about this too is that for the rest of their relationship, if they don't get divorced, he's going to resent the fuck out of her. He is going to resent her so much to the point of no return. And then they'll end up divorcing anyway, because that harbors a lot of resentment. That behavior, it just makes you so angry that somebody would treat you this way. It's crazy. Guys, it's been 2 weeks since then. Governments recommended to stay home, and I knew staying home by myself while work with 2 kids would not be ideal, and she wanted to see our kids. So we're in the same house. She constantly keeps stopping me and trying to get me excited for our kid, planning the nursery and names, and happy our kids to get a younger sibling. I've been ignoring her entirely. What do I do? Staying home with her is bad enough. I don't know if I should have leave her over this. I don't trust her anymore. She entirely betrayed it. I'm angry, but I have another child on the way. Divorce. I don't care. Divorce her. Leave her. Bye. You don't deserve me. You lied. You trapped me. No. Also, a lot of these stories are from COVID times. That's quite interesting. Yeah. So somebody left really good tips and advice for this man. Somebody said, this is a huge betrayal by your wife, and honestly, I could have been a deal breaker leading to divorce. Having a child is a big emotional, physical, and financial decision that should be involved two partners. She's selfish, entitled, and manipulative. Period. Selfish, entitled, manipulative. Perfect description of this lady. Crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. And the person goes on to say, I would consider the following. Get a lawyer. Discuss your options. Get a screenshot of evidence of the text between her and her friend. Record her admitting to tampering and lying on her birth control and your condoms. Get a couples counselor. You need virtual sessions during the pandemic. It's important to either save your relationship to have meditate a divorce. Get a paternity test. That's a good point. You never know. As we just read in that last story, paternity tests are important, so you never know. Being honest with people on why you are separate. She's going to lie and be manipulative about what actually happened. That part. Because it does happen. The wives will take a stance and not lie and say things and twist and turn the story. Stand your ground. Always stand your ground, but get a divorce. Document interactions. Record any fights with her. She can't be trusted. Avoid her claiming her abuse or other things by having proof. What's most worrisome and makes me worry your marriage is over. She lied. She blamed it on you for not having a vasectomy. She's not sorry. She doesn't respect your views, needs, or opinions. She doesn't respect you, Dan. She doesn't respect you as a person, as a husband, as a father of her children. She doesn't respect you. And that is a terrible person. And she needs to be gone. I'm telling you. I don't have an update for this story. I really wish I did. This story was published 5 years ago. So hopefully Dan has left his wife. Because this is all bad news bears to me. This reads like a freaking movie. Crazy. It's crazy. Before I go on into our next story, I wanted to shout out a comment that I got from one of my most loyal, longtime subscribers. And her name is Noah. And she left this beautiful comment for me a couple of days ago. So for context, I recently posted a screenshot of my views on my channel, and I posted it in the community post, and it was just about how I was getting low views and how it's a little bit discouraging, but I wanted to keep going. And Noah left this amazing comment, and Noah says, just remember those numbers are people. Can you imagine a room with almost 600 people who came just to watch you talk? That's a mess. Thank you so much, Noah, for that comment. Everybody loved this comment. As you can see, it got a lot of likes and a lot of comments underneath the comment. And I really, really appreciate this because I really needed that encouragement. Thank you, Noah. You are so sweet. Now on to the last story. So the title of this one is Me, 30M, Wife, 29F, married for 7 years. Wife will financially ruin us with one decision she is trying to force me into. What do I do? Little background. My wife is Brazilian, and we met when I visited the country. We kept talking for about 10 months after my trip, and we quickly fell in love. She told me that she would be willing to leave Brazil to live with me. After a few more months, I flew to Brazil with a ring, popped the question, and here we are 7 years later, married in the USA. Interesting. Problem. She wants to bring her family over to the USA. Her family is below the poverty line in Brazil, and I understand this is a dream. If we have the money, I would love to have them in the USA with us. They are great people. I consider them family more than my own. We Looked into it years ago. However, it would be paying for basically everything financially. And after looking at the costs, there is no way for us to do it at the time and still today. Yeah, I don't see anything I don't see anything wrong with not wanting to sponsor an entire family. It's expensive. Things are so expensive. This video, this Reddit was posted 7 months ago, and things are expensive. So there's no way you can sponsor an entire family. I'm assuming her parents, her siblings probably. I understand why he would be a little bit apprehensive about sponsoring an entire family. So now, years later, just before we plan to have kids, it's come up again, and now she is going to the process no matter what I say, and I will be applying for a green card for her elderly dad. It would literally ruin us financially. We have had a plan to have kids and raise our own family. We're going to start having kids next month. Without warning, this has come up again. I have told her and has shown her that we cannot afford it, but she keeps blaming me for not supporting her when in reality, we financially can't do it. Not even close. This is so, I don't understand why the wife can't understand that you cannot afford to sponsor her family. I don't understand that. I think the most you can do here is probably send her family money, but and she obviously cannot sponsor these people herself because she needs your money too, right? Because it's expensive to sponsor another family. It's very expensive. The path road to migrating in the United States is very, very expensive. So I don't understand why she doesn't understand that. I think, like I said in my last video, this is also a ground to leave somebody. If you're going to be forcing and manipulating somebody to do what you want, I don't want to be with you. I don't want to be with somebody that is going to be that manipulative. It's crazy. Question. I do not know what to do. I'm freaking out. I love her. I would love and have to have her family with her. If I go along with this to bring her dad over, it'll ruin us financially. She's forcing me into this. I'm terrified what's going to break us apart. Yeah. What about this? What about move to Brazil with her for her family? What about that? That's a thought. That's an idea because living in Brazil will be a little cheaper, right? And I'm pretty sure you can find a nice house in Brazil and just move with her family over there for a little while. What about that? But no, because of course, life in America is probably quote unquote a little better than living in Brazil, right? Of course, she's probably never thought about that. Somebody says, ask her to run through the finances and show you how you plan to make it happen. Maybe she's aware of the whole cost and contribute somehow. That's a good idea. I like that. And somebody else says, you're better off sending him a couple $100 a month so he can live there. I'm an immigrant. I know how much it'll cost to maintain elderly person. So don't do it. Exactly. Don't do it. Don't sponsor her family. She needs to be able to sponsor her own family and be able to bring her own family and pay for them herself here if she wants to do that. Don't do it. And I'd rather have kids than than sponsor an entire family.